Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday. It is 10 a.m. It is Impulses with Megan and Sandra. How are you guys doing? I cannot wait for this show. It is a show that we are going to wait for it because that is literally the topic this morning. Is while we waiting, what are we doing while we waiting? And we got an amazing show lined up. I hope you guys are ready for this. Make your second cup of coffee ready because we are going to get into it so much. But before we get into it, just remember that you're listening on 98.1 in the Potchefstroom area, otherwise 100.6 in the Kosh area, otherwise on www.lifefm.co.za. Otherwise, you can listen on the app. Just go download the app, go to Play Store, go download the app, and then you can listen to Life FM all day, every day. But before I get too carried away, Megan, how are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you, Sanjay. And I hope that each and every single listener is also doing just as well today and in this beautiful week. You know what? I'm giggling here when Sanjay giggled with the www. It's growth, eh? It's growth. There's no longer 4 W's before the dot. It's now just 3.
Always get confused and carried away. Just want to put extra W's for some odd reason. But guys, just something to ponder about. You know what? At times we have to wait. I think there's big portions of our life where we have to wait for things. You know what? You can't go get your matric certificate immediately. You got to start at grade 1. Then that's not exactly a 12-year wait, but it's 12 years in general before you can get there. But it's what you do in the meantime, and that is what we're going to explore. That is what we're going to talk about after the break, because you know this is very relevant to where we are at the moment. And you know what, we want to encourage you, because if you are in a waiting season, if you are in a waiting period, you know what, don't get discouraged, because we tend to get discouraged quite a lot and quite easily. But guys, before I start mouthing too much and talking too much about it, I think let's just go to a break. Let's go to a song. Get your cup of coffee ready. Have your pens and papers if you want to write down a few notes, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to Life FM. You are tuning in with Sanjay and Megan on Impulses, and I hope that you enjoyed that song, and I hope that you are going to enjoy this program with us. Before we get into the program, we just quickly wanted to remind everyone that this exact program will be aired this Saturday on our YouTube page. You can go look it up on Practical Faith Ministries on YouTube. We are also on various other platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And we've got daily content such as daily devotionals, a few prayer programs, and then as well, of course, the Impulses on Saturday. You guys have to go check out the rest of it before I give it too much away. But anyway, before we go too far into the marketing strategy of this of this program, let us get back into the topic. Let us wait for it. Sandra, you get...
Must I get us rolling? Okay, you know what, guys? The waiting is the part that I don't really like. I am one of those. If I have something on my mind, I want to do it now. I don't want to wait. You know, I've got something I cannot wait to get going. And I think that's something that irritates Megan. Because at times, if I get a brainstorm, if I get a brainwave, I just want to go. I don't want to wait. Don't want to think about it too much. Let's just do it. Because otherwise, it's just going to be in my brain and it's just going to irritate. So, you know, but a lot of times, we have to wait. Sometimes the growth is in the waiting. And that's the most difficult period. You know, I can testify to myself I think in so many areas in my own life where I can testify where the Lord just said wait, because a lot of times we try and rush and we try and force things. You know, when things are getting a bit tough, or when you start getting impatient, you try and force things and everything works out so wrong. I'm not saying you must sit back and do nothing, because that's totally the contrary of what you should be doing in the waiting area. But a lot of times we try and force a situation through. We try and push a situation through. You know, we are going through few things at the moment where we have to kind of sit back and wait. But we're keeping ourselves busy. We doing what from our part. We keeping our part clean, and we are pushing along. But at this moment, we kind of realize, okay, Lord, we're waiting for a few things to happen. And those are the points where, what are you doing in the meantime? Because we know we're going to have to wait. At times, you're going to have to wait. You cannot push everything too far, too soon, too quickly, because then it becomes a mess up. You know, I know sometimes when people say if you go too big too soon, that's when it all flops. So it's all about the timing. When is the timing? I can testify about my own life, and I've got many testimonies here. But before I get into that, I think let's just Megan's busy reading a verse here, and let her just get this verse out the way quickly.
I feel like I've got two very specific passages to what we are talking about. And the first one is Psalm 40, verse 1 and 2. And I'll read it out of the NIV. It says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire, and he set my feet on a rock. And he gave me a firm place to stand. Before I continue with talking, I've got another passage. It's Isaiah 30, verse 19. People of Zion, who live in Jerusalem, you will weep no more. How gracious he will be when you cry for help. As soon as he hears, he will answer you. And when I read these two passages this morning, you know what? It comes back to, as Sanjay was saying, at times the Lord calls us for a waiting period. We were actually having this discussion last night, and in prayer, the Holy Spirit led me to pray to become a backseat driver. To sit back and stop looking out the front window in anticipation, but rather enjoy the beautiful scenery on the way.
Okay, that please happen while we're driving. Is there a possibility for that actually while I'm driving? Is this going to be put into practice now?
And you know what? Irrelevant of the actual reality there, because I'm a terrible backseat driver. I am a very anxious passenger, in fact. But it comes to this, when you're a backseat driver, I remember as a child, we used to go to Durban quite often, and we would be driving. It's a 6-7 hour drive, and all the kids would be in the back, and not a single moment we would be worrying about the path that we were taking, but instead we were looking out the window, just enjoying the beautiful scenery, knowing that we're going to get there eventually. There was no fear or doubt of, are we getting lost or what? We just trusted my parents because they knew the route. And it comes back to this, and again, waiting patiently for the Lord. I take it in a very similar sense to actually driving on a beautiful scenery. Him knowing exactly where we are going. And sometimes we have this thing within us where we just, okay, but you forgot to brake. You must turn here. No, you must go there. No, listen, just listen to the GPS. And this is, this is how it sounds when we drive, when me and Sandra are in the car and we're driving far. It's exactly how it sounds. In between, we've got some great conversation and some great music playing, but more often than not, it's wait. Check that car, just wait.
Talking about that, and this is one thing that I applied once in my life, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. A couple of years back, I went to Madeira because we're from Madeira, and I went with my brothers and my father, and we spent about 3 weeks. It's an island just off Portugal and belongs to Portugal. And the nice thing was the first time that I was there, and it's such beautiful scenery. It's mountains. It was just so stunning. And my father knows the roads. He goes quite often. He goes every year, every second year if possible. My grandparents are there, or his parents are there, and I just took. And a lot of times we would explore the island. My father would drive. And being the oldest brother, I always sat in front. My father would drive, I sat in front, and my two youngest brothers at the back. But how nice it was just sitting there, not focusing at times on the road, but just looking around, because there's literally, you got rocks, right next to you, got a cliff right next to you, and then you look the other side, and then there's sea. And it was just so nice taking everything in. And a lot of times we wanted to get out to a destination. We wanted to get somewhere because we wanted to go sightseeing, we wanted to go do a couple of stuff. We've heard a lot about all this stuff, so we've always wanted to do it. But it was so nice just focusing on everything else, knowing that, listen here, my father's in control, he's driving. And you must remember, there, when you drive there, it's the other side. Where we sit normally, on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, you sit on the other side, and the steering wheel's on the other side. And, everything's kind of just the wrong way around, right? That is just Europe. But it was just nice sitting there and just looking at everything. And then when, at times I'm just so memorized, I can't get my words out. I'm just so memorized with what's around me that we got to the destination so much quicker. And this is basically what Megan is trying to bring out here. A lot of times we cry to the Lord, but then we try and force things. We try and push things open. Instead of focusing on the waiting and the Bible that I've actually got here. has written it so nicely. And I just want to read this to you. It's actually on top of Psalm 40. It says the theme. It says, doing God's will sometimes means waiting patiently. While we wait, we can love God, serve others, and tell others about Him. It's what we're doing in the meantime that, affects quite a lot of what we're doing. Because the Lord has never dropped you. He's never disappointed you. You know what? He's always looked out for you. He's always put a roof over your head. He's always fed you. He's always got you to where you wanted to. A lot of times the blessings have always been bigger than what we normally have, right? Or a lot of times what we think. But it's what we do in the meantime that kind of defines the period. It's kind of like when you're driving. Now, I remember you speaking about driving to Durban. When we drove back then, going to Durban, I remember once we went to Cape Town. It was actually a soccer tour, and I was quite small. I could not wait just to get there. It's like, are we there? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And you know what? The road just felt extra long. Instead of just enjoying what you're going through at the moment. Because sometimes, you know what? If something's going to happen tomorrow, if you got a meeting tomorrow, you can do what you want. You're not going to have the meeting today. So what you do between now until tomorrow morning, that counts.
And you know what? Exactly just that. It's about how you take. I like to say I'm a slow-paced person. I enjoy the journey. I take my time to enjoy the journey because I have a very, very strong belief that the Lord sets everything together like a puzzle and every single detail forms part of the bigger picture. And so for me, I enjoy watching the detail. Sanjay, on the other hand, fast-paced person, needs to be done now. But this, to me, enjoying the detail, and I'm seeing him grow and learning into becoming the slower paced person, enjoying the beautiful scenery, enjoying the blessings in between. And you know what? It's amazing to see this unfold and see the trusting growing even deeper with God. But anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoy the song right after this. We will be back right after the song.
Guys, welcome back after the song. You're listening to Impulses. You're listening to Megan and Sandru. You are on Life FM. And if you're tuned in, you're of course tuned in on 100.6 FM
in the
Kosh area. Otherwise, 98.1 in the Potchefstroom area. Otherwise, you are listening on www.lifefm.co.za. Or otherwise, get the app. It's just so much easier, so much better. It's on your phone. Click on it, and then you're listening to Live FM all day, every day, guys. But before we get into our topic, just remember the Live FM Practical Faith Bible Drive. We encourage you to help contribute. Go into the Live FM website. You'll see there's a Bible drive where you can contribute so we can bless everyone with Bibles. Otherwise, go buy a Bible yourself. Or if you have Bibles, let them go bless it to them. Go bless someone who doesn't have one and send us the photos. You can always send it to me on 066 238 3066. Otherwise, to the Life FM number. And you know what? Then we share it because we want to testify. We said from the beginning when I spoke to Amber, it was 1 million Bibles. It sounds out of reach. But you know what? We've done over 100 in a few months. And that is just so blessed in how the Lord is. And there's another 50 going out just this month. So we're closing in on 200. And that is just such a blessing. But back into our topic. What Megan was saying just before we went to the break and just before we went to the song was, I would like to think I'm a patient person. That's in my mind. I think I'm patient. And she's just busy laughing. Yeah, I'm not patient at all. I want to do something, I want to do it now. If I got something on my mind, I want to do it now. You can ask Megan, especially when it comes to the practical faith things. I want to do it now. She's like, no, we'll do it tonight. Forgetting that, we live in a place where load shedding happens frequently. And especially if you live in Parys. For some reason, our power is more often in most areas in the country, thanks to our wonderful municipality. But you have to start getting that balance right. As much as you can't sit and do nothing, I also realize at times you got to wait for the right time. It's like when you're going to go ask someone, and I always think back to, like if I wanted something from my parents when I was still small, actually a bit older, I think more in the teenage years. You kind of read your parents' temperament, right? You kind of get to know your parents. So you kind of know if they're not having a good day, I think it's the wrong time to ask them. Then you rather wait. It's something as simple as you want ice cream, or the ones, I think it was Kentucky or something. I was really list for Kentucky, and I was in primary school. But I saw my parents, and I saw my father's like, no, he was just having a rough day. And then I realized, just wait a bit. For some reason, I waited. Normally, I'd just go ask him, and it would probably be a no or whatever the case was, or you know what, there's food in the fridge. But that moment, I waited, and once he calmed down, I went to go speak to him nicely and just ask him. And for some reason, we got Kentucky that night, and that was just, it's those small things where you kind of enjoy. It's the small things where you kind of realize, but your timing must be right. Don't try and force things. And this is where we're getting, the Lord hears our cries. It says there, Megan read it earlier in Isaiah.
Isaiah 30 verse 19.
30 verse 19, that He will answer you. Sometimes we just got to be patient because the timing must be right.
You know what? In the same sense, I just want to jump in here. Sometimes we have received the answer. And sometimes we are so anxious at the Lord to fulfill this promise that waiting period seems even more dooming. It's this thing of, okay, I know my career is going to change, and I keep checking my watch wrist, and I'm like, okay, is this my last day? Am I not finishing off yet? Is this now the day? Is this now the day? And you know what? I wanted to actually, I got another piece of, or another passage that I, throughout the break. And it's in Isaiah 11 from verse 17. Hebrews 11 from verse 17. And it is, by faith Abram, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abram reasoned that God could even raise the dead, and so in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from the death. You know what? Sometimes, I love the story about Abram, because sometimes we tend to forget God's promises. We tend to forget, we're trusting the Lord, or we're trying very hard to. And then we get impatient and we get frustrated, and things don't feel like they're going a certain way. And where the Lord is actually just calling us, Hebrews 11 is all about, it's actually called the Hall of Faith. It is all about faith. It is all about trusting the Lord. It is all about trusting the promises that He has already made you. Abram didn't sacrifice his son to try and show God, oh, look at me, I am now. No, he was about to do so to show God that he trusted Him, because he trusted the promise that God had made. Sometimes the Lord calls us into a waiting period because He's working on the promise. He's already answered us through other people, prophets, general people from the church. You've received so many confirmations. The Lord has said, yes, this is what is going to happen. This is the future that you're looking at. You know for a fact in your own heart what the Lord has promised. But then comes the moment where we now have to wait for this promise to come into fruition. And then we get frustrated. The enemy, this is when the enemy likes to target us. Oh, I'm never going to go anywhere. Oh, I'm always going to be stuck in one place. I've heard this cry so many times. And you know, then we come back and we're like, okay, but Lord, but how am I supposed to have the type of faith for you to actually make this promise fulfilled? He's already promised it. It's already been promised. The only thing you need to trust is that He will not go back on His promise.
Is the timing. Now, if you take that piece with Abram, and this is one of the things that I don't think we always see Abram on top there, and the ram, the Lord brings a ram at the right moment. If you notice, it's always at the right moment. But imagine having to walk up there. And this is what happens a lot of our times. We're busy walking, and all we see is impeding death. We see death of a situation. Because Abram's busy walking, and Isaac asked him, but where's the sacrifice? He said, no, the Lord will provide it. Meanwhile, Abram's busy walking, knowing what the Lord asked him. Seeing certain doom. And he still went through with it. How many of us would have just walked away? And in those moments, are we still serving the Lord? Are we still doing what we're called to do? Are we still pushing on in honor, moving forward, in reverence of the Lord, and saying, okay, Lord, I don't know what's going to happen. I cannot see. All I can see is impeding death, and don't know what's going to happen. But the one thing that I do know is, Lord, for some reason, I'm trusting you. Because a lot of times we also tell the Lord what we want. We tell Him, you know what? you must do it like this. And when we don't get our way, then we start getting angry, we start getting cross. And then we start, blaming the Lord and saying, but he doesn't love me, and all that that comes with it. But just trust in him. I think this is where Abram's, the lesson that comes from Abram is, Lord, I don't know what you're going to do, but I know you're going to sort it out somehow.
And I think what's very important, especially with the story from Abram never once doubted God. Abram said, I don't know what you're going to do. Look, as a mother, I'm trying to think to myself, taking my little boy's hand, walking him up by a mountain and thinking to go and lie him on a stone to sacrifice him. I cannot even get the thought into my head. It's so surreal to me. But Abram just walked and he went, I'm going to trust the Lord. I don't know what he's going to do. I'm sure his heart broke. His heart must have been 1,000 little pieces walking up there. But at the very same time, the Lord told Abram that your nation will come, your succession will come from Isaac. So the Lord already promised him that Isaac was going to bear the fruit for the future. So that promise was already made. But you know what? I'm thinking to myself, you give me this amazing gift, this amazing, wonderful thing, and I'm supposed to sacrifice it. And I couldn't. I don't know if I could. To be honest, I don't know if I could. And that type of trust and faith that Abram had in the Lord, I can't even fathom it.
And that is what we got to start learning, is in the waiting period, in the walking, in Abram's situation, he was walking there. And a lot of times that walking to the altar, if I can call it like that the waiting upon the Lord is a time we must cherish, look around and enjoy, because that's the time that's going to shape you a lot. It's going to shape your character, it's going to shape the way you think, it's going to shape what you do in the future. Guys, don't neglect it. Enjoy it. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time. You know what? We cannot wait to be back with you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Just remember, to tell people about Life FM, to tell them about Impulses, and you guys must have a blessed, amazing week. Speak to you guys next week.